G'day, or should I say good evening, and welcome to a Down Under Yarn. I am your host Fiona, also known as Fifykins. If you find someone called Fifykins on the web, it is more likely than not to be me. Um, yes, this is me. I went today and had all my hair cut off. I've had long hair for a long time. The last time I had it this short, it was this short at the front, but also round to the back, whereas this time, don't know if you can see, but it's a bit concave at the back there. Was probably about 8 or 9 years ago. So it's time for change, and change is as good as a holiday or something, so I thought, why not? I'm just going to tuck that behind there because it's getting in my eyes. Sorry, I'm still getting used to it. And it probably will take a bit of getting used to. I'm keep flicking my hair because I'm feeling it brushing against me in different spots. But hey, it is time for a change, and changes are good. I like change. Anyway, welcome. Welcome to new viewers, or welcome to returning viewers. I do have some show notes written down, and these, of course, will be written up, and they'll be available at fifykins.com. So you can check there in case I've mentioned anything. You can also message me. I am awfully behind on Ravelry messages at the moment, though. I do apologise. I've been flat chat this week. I might quickly go into the week that was. I've been doing this course, which has been really good, really interesting, and I've been getting a business plan together for my solar flare fibres business. And it's taking a long time. I'm meant to be studying full-time, so I'm doing full-time study and trying to dye yarn and do all sorts of stuff. So I'm going to have a segment about the business at the end, but I suppose I can let you know now I have a date for my first update, which is on Friday week, the 16th of August. So that's pretty exciting. I'm very excited. I will be on Etsy to begin with, and I'll take things from there. So it will be 9:30 in the morning my time. There is a post in the Facebook group, which I encourage you to come and join. And I'm also going to put one on the Ravelry group, which has a link to the calendar, the world time calendar, which you can tell what time it is in your place. Now, if you're somewhere where you're not going to be near a computer, if you're at work at that time, or if you're sleeping, because I know it's the middle of the night for Africa and Europe, not that I would be expecting a lot of custom from there, but you never know. I'm going to have some custom spots up, and if you also, I'm going to get to this in the shop update bits at the end, but I'll just mention it now, so I'm sorry if you're not interested in shop update stuff. I'm going to have some slots available. I'm also hoping, I'm trying to get my website organised. I'm seeing someone about that tomorrow again, and I will have preview photos up on the new blog that will be I hopefully be launching next week as well. That's also where I'm going to transport this podcast over to. It makes life a lot easier there. And I'll use a similar thing to what I'm using now with getting it through to iTunes. I've been looking at different plans, and it's really, really challenging to find one that is going to work, that's not going to cost an arm and a leg, because of hosting costs and the bandwidth you get with that here. I'm actually thinking it's going to be more feasible for me to stay with what I'm using at the moment, even though it's costing me about $50 a month to get onto iTunes, and that's been steadily increasing with Amazon, using Amazon S3 to get the podcast up there. I don't know. I'm still a bit up in the air about what I'm going to do. I'm going to speak to my techie friends and see what they can recommend, because a podcast generates a lot of traffic, and it's the traffic that we pay for over here. Earlier this week we were shaped, which means that we'd run out of our internet allowance. We had 200 gigabytes a month, and somehow between the children and myself and Mimmel when he's here, we managed to get through that in 24 days out of 31. So it meant that we were slowed down. I lasted less than 24 hours before I rang them up and increased the plan to 500 gigabytes. And I've told the kids that if we ever get close to being shaped on that, there will be severe consequences. They stream a lot of music, which uses up bandwidth. Yes, we have limits here. I understand in the States you don't have limits, which I think is just absolutely amazing. and I'm pretty jealous. So I've been doing a lot of work for the business, and there will be more at the end. We've had a new exchange student here from Japan, and it's actually someone Imogen knew from her time there. Imogen, when she came back, she didn't think she'd learnt a lot of Japanese. However, when this exchange student arrived on Monday, they sat in the back of the car and nattered non-stop all the way home, which is about a 10-minute drive, in Japanese. And they were laughing and giggling, and it was all Japanese. It wasn't like it was English or half Japanese, half English. They were just rabbiting on and just laughing their heads off. So she knows a lot of Japanese now. The other bit of administratia I have today, I am really excited about. There is a new Australian podcast out there. It is the Aussie Yarning podcast, which is with the amazing Joyce. Now, Joyce is in New South Wales, and she's just released her first episode. I'm going to put a link in the show notes. I've put a link out on Twitter. I've put something on Plurk. Joyce is amazing. She thinks she's probably the most mature podcaster out there. So if anyone else knows of anyone who is a grandma, I suppose, who is podcasting, Joyce would love to hear from you. Joyce is amazing. I was riveted throughout her podcast. It was like we were sitting down knitting with her. She was, you know, podcasts where you feel like you're having a conversation with someone. And at the end, I really felt compelled to answer a couple of queries she'd had in the podcast that she'd brought up. So that was really good. I really recommend you check her out. It is, again, called Aussie Yarning with Joyce. So, well done, Joyce. 2 thumbs up. Do yourselves a favour, as the great Aussie music guru would say, Molly Meldrum. Do yourselves a favour and check out Joyce at Aussie Yarning. And she is Zoe Knit Girl, I believe, on Ravelry. Pretty sure that's what it is. But that's off the top of my head because I didn't put down that in my notes, did I? Sorry. I can now go on to knitting. I have 2 finished objects. I don't know if I actually mentioned, this is episode 32 of A Down Under Yarn, and today is Wednesday the 7th of August. And again, I am late because I've been so busy with this study thing, trying to get that done. And it is evening here because I spent the afternoon at the salon. And I'm meant to be working, but I'm not. Anyway, my first finished object is my Rock Strata Bits. This is the pattern by the amazing Josh Ricks. I finished this one before I went to Bendigo, and then started the other one whilst I was at Bendigo. And there may have been a little bit of alcohol involved and may have had to have ripped back a few rows. But anyway, I finished this on the weekend and I really enjoyed this pattern. I think it's a fantastic, ingenious way of doing things. I have no idea what I have done on this thumb though. I'm going to have to unpick it because it's far too loose compared to the other thumb. And I've got no idea. It just looks, it is just so loose in there compared to that one. So that is something I am going to fix on these, but I thought I would show them to you anyway. Woo! So yeah, Rock Strata Mitts by Josh Ricks. Really, really enjoyed them. I knit these out of African Expressions Harmony range, which was yarn I picked up in South Africa. It is an Aran weight, so I used 5mm needles, and I quite like the texture I got with them. I, of course, have bigger arms, and that worked really well for me. So I'm glad I finished them, and they're actually really good. I've worn them out here on the deck a couple of times because in the evenings it has been getting a bit chilly. My second finished object was my Camp Loopy 2 project, which was my Ishbel. Now, I think last week I had the bottom border to do, and then cast off and block. I did that. I got in the 500 yard limit. I was a bit over that, but at a mild disaster. I bound this off at like 11:30 at night, and when I bound it off, I just put it down. The following morning, I got up extra early. It was lack of sleep, you know, you don't mind that. got up extra early and wet it to block it. So I wet it. I thought I'll lay it on my bed all day. I took the sheet off and I do it on the underlay, and I find that that's a really, really good area. And the pins go straight through into the underlay. I use my blocking wires, put the blocking wires along the top, and that's not a problem. Started putting them along here and noticed there was a drop stitch in my bind off. So I caught it. That was fine. Went further along and found another one. In the end, I found 4. And I thought I can't leave it like this, so I decided to block it with the stitches caught, and I actually got a needle and some thread and caught them on there. 3 of them that I found, not a problem fixing. I think you can see there was one in there which you really can't notice. You can notice, however, in there, just here. Where are we? Where is it? There, just there. I don't think I picked up, this one happened, I picked up, when I blocked it, I thought I'd picked up the requisite stitches, but in the end I hadn't. And it meant that I had to try and do a bit of a patch job. When I wear this, if I wear it like this, I can actually tuck it under and hide it. Oh, hello. I can wear a shawl like this now and have my hair on top of it. That's a bit exciting. If I wear it like this, and it is an okay size to be doing that, and have a clip here, then it will probably be noticed at the back, but I won't be seeing it, so it won't worry me. Now, the yarn I used for this, it's the Alchemy Yarns of Transformation. I remember that much, and I should have written it down, and because I haven't had show notes for the last few weeks, I haven't actually got it in my notes here. I should remember that I'm mirrored on my screen, so I'm looking at my hair like I'm looking in a mirror, and it's not right. Or I'm not mirrored or something. Anyway, it is the Cherry Tart colourway. I really loved it. Really, really great shawl pattern. The lace was really intuitive. I did my centre double decreases differently to what was in the pattern because I can't read keys, it would seem. I just slipped as if to purl instead of slipping as if to knit, so they're not twisted, but it's the same all the way through. The lace pattern is so easy to read and tell if you're not doing something right. It is quite a short repeat, which means when you're purling on the purl back rows, I found it easy to track if I'd missed a yarn over. If you're thinking of doing a lace project and haven't knit a lot of lace before, then I really would recommend the Ishbel by Isolde Teague, because I found it relatively easy to follow. And I think that a lot of new lace knitters would as well. I did get this in time for Camp Loopy 2, and I'll get to Camp Loopy 3 in a moment. But yeah, again, I am happy. I had to break into my 3rd ball of yarn midway through the border, and you can't see it in the evening. I saw it during the day. You could kind of see where the 2nd ball of yarn was, but not really, and it's not noticeable. It doesn't worry me, whereas I've seen sweaters that I've seen people knit, and I've seen photos of them on Ravelry, and I've thought that really would bother me if I had that sort of colour blocking in my sweater. So this is my Ishbel. Kind of goes with my shirt. I was wearing this shirt today and I was thinking that'd actually make an awesome yarn colour. It's got all these blues and pinks and reds and yellows and black and white in there. Perhaps fibre actually. Anyway, so there we go. They are my 2 finished objects. Works in progress. I still haven't made a project page for this, which is quite silly of me. This is my watermelon sock. I'm just showing it to you because it means I've got something to show you. We went and saw Man of Steel on Saturday night, I think it was. Mill took us along, which was just great. It was entertaining, and I was able to knit during it. And I've never actually knit in a movie before, really. I've knit in the previews. When the lights went down, I usually drop it. This time I did knit. I think from memory last week I was down here somewhere, and I did knit a few rows. I knit on this at Ravelry Meetup here in Cairns on Sunday, we had our monthly meetup. There's only Heather and I that were there, which was, it was nice just catching up with a fellow knitter. So I knit on this while we were there as well. This is out of Yarn vs Zombies self-striping yarn, and it is the watermelon colourway that Kiki dyed for me, which is a really, really lovely. It has the green and then of course the red with the black spots through it. These are for Immy and she loves them. After telling me no, she didn't want me to knit her any socks, as soon as she saw these, because she just adores watermelon, she decided that yes, she definitely will have them, thank you very much. My other work in progress also links with enabling. It is my Camp Loopy 3 project. I am doing the Windswept, which is a tin can knits pattern. And this is also for the Stockinette Zombies knit along and for Camp Loopy 3. Now, I cast this on Monday and did a few rows of the collar. Yeah, I actually haven't done a lot. I didn't knit a gauge swatch, and I've actually plurked that I didn't knit a gauge swatch, and if it doesn't fit me, everyone has permission to rouse on me. But I'm loving the way this is draping already. So this is the Shalimar Yarns Breathless DK. It is 75% superwash merino, 15% cashmere, 10% silk, 270 yards, Shalimar Yarns in the Silver Sage colourway. So it's semi-accurate, but not really, because it's the evening. Can that get more accurate? It's a little bit greener than what is showing there. And I'm going to have to get knitting on it. Because it's got the lace paneling, I find I can't really do it while I'm watching podcasts, and I can't really do it whilst I'm talking with people, and it's hard to do whilst travelling. So I'm going to have to find some way of fixing that. I did wind yarn for my Mackay shawl, which is the Emsky Knits knit along, but I haven't cast that on yet. I need to get a bit further along on my Camp Loopy, I think, before I cast that on. As I said, I really am enjoying the drape. This is so soft and so beautiful, and I'm sure it will be lovely when it's knitted up. I saw Jenna Retro Lemons one that she'd finished, and it looks absolutely stunning on her. I was thinking of doing this short sleeves, but I'm thinking now I might even do it long sleeves, and it will be fairly versatile. It's a nice sort of evening up here where I could actually have a sweater on, and I probably will when I'm editing this. Spinning. I finished and tied the English Shetland I had from Zazuela's Fibres. I did this on the traditional wheel I've had here, because the first part of it I'd spun at the show, and did that on it was actually an Ashford Traveller at the show. I haven't actually soaked and thwacked this one yet, but I'm pretty sure it'll come out quite nicely once I do. It is fairly thick and thin in parts, probably not my best effort to date, but I think I was rushing for it. I was participating in Stash Dash, and I think I came up about 300 or 400 yards short. I thought about finishing a baby vest that I've had on the needles for over 12 months and just didn't feel the love for it, and thought, I know I've only got to do I-cord around the edges, and that would have taken me half an hour, but that still would have left me 50 yards short. And then I actually cast on a baby hat, and I thought, this is silly, because one of my goals for the year was to knit for pleasure, and that wasn't knitting for pleasure. And I felt I'd done a pretty good job with my first Stash Dash. I'd enjoyed it. I like tracking my progress. I have been tracking the yards I've knit so far this year, and I think I've done an amazing job already. So, hey, it is what it is. Next year could be different. This year during Stash Dash I've also learned to spin, and next year I would think my spinning will produce more yardage. So, hey, let's move on with Stash Dash. The other thing I did finish though was some Polwarth. I'd spun this quite early on. I'd spun one bobbin, and I had a second bobbin here, second lot that I'd carded. It was hand prepared by one of the ladies at the Fibre Crafters. And again, the first bobbin I had spun on the traditional, the second bobbin I did on my sidekick, and plied them on the sidekick because I think I really just wanted to finish it. Again, I haven't washed this, so I know it will poof up. The Shetland, I think I got 210 yards from memory, and I think I got about 110 yards for this. I haven't actually even weighed this to find out how much it weighed, but I suspect it's probably around 50, 60 grams, 2 or 3 ounces. And I'm going to use this in a couple of softies. I've got some of my other handspun that I've done I really want to make. With one of my early handspuns, I'd like to knit a calico cat with the calico cat yarn, but I don't have enough of that. So I thought I might try and see if that will work in with it. I think the colours might. This is just totally natural Polwarth. So we'll see how we go. Last night when I could have been knitting on my sweater, I think yesterday I had a bit of a rough day. Jasper hasn't been well again this week, and I got a phone call from school saying, can you come and pick him up? He's having a pretty off day. So I had to go and get him after lunch, and of course we've got the Japanese girl here, so I had to go and pick them up after school. And it meant that, things were busy, and last night I wanted to sit down and knit, but in the end I thought, no, I'm just going to sit down and spin. And I just find that when I'm spinning, I can get into such a zen space. And Mimo was over here, and he said, I can notice the change in you. I notice how you're sitting here and you're fidgeting and you're fussing around. And then you're sitting down and spinning and you're just there, and it's just rhythmic. And I can see what the appeal is for me. So, yeah, anyway, I put on the wheel last night some Blue-Faced Leicester. I had hoped to put this on the weekend, but didn't. That I got at the Bendigo Ship and Wool Festival. This is from Moseley Park. It is 100% BFL in the Steph colourway. Now, I don't know who Steph is, but she must be an amazing person to be this colourful, because this is just beautiful. That's not really that true. It's got more green in that than you can see, but that gives a fairly, I suppose, semi-accurate representation. It is a bit thick and thin. You can see here, actually that bit's got a bit of, that's probably a bit better bit there. And there's a bit of twist in it still, even though that's towards the end. I hope to spin the other half sometime this week and then ply them. No idea what I'm going to do with it. Really, I'm just enjoying the process. And people keep saying to me, what are you going to do with your handspun? And I say, I don't know. So I think a lot of it for me is the process of spinning that I am enjoying. And I'm sure once I get knitting with it, I will enjoy it as well. Keep wanting to say Susan Ashcroft. It might be Susan Ashcroft, I think. TGV Hogwarts Express knit designer has a new shawl that is about to be released. It's in testing phase. That is designed for handspun yarn. She says when you've got about 200 yards of handspun, to make something that's not a cowl and not a scarf, it looks like it's like a biased scarf. And she has some great patterns for bias scarves as well, bias shawls. So I hope to try that. I have some other patterns in my queue that I'm hoping to do that. Melissa from the Meltran Designs podcast is having a handspun knit along this month and next month. So if you have any handspun, please feel free to go over to Melissa, check out Melissa's podcast and enter any projects in there. Acquisitions. My Camp Loopy arrived. Now, I think it arrived on the 3rd. When was the 3rd? Today's the 7th. It was Wednesday or Thursday. It was Wednesday or Thursday last week. It must have been Thursday or Friday, because I was really getting a bit anxious about it and worrying, not that I've now cast it on. So I got 5 skeins of this for my sweater, and I'm really going to have to get cracking on it. I will be alternating skeins once I've knit the collar and picked up around the body, but I'm not alternating skeins in the lace work. I thought that was just too tricky. The other thing that arrived, I am super excited about. There's going to be a bit of crinkling. My Into the World Club arrived. I've switched over from yarn to fibre, and I've gone the classic way. I like the luxury yarns, look beautiful, but I don't think I'm up to spinning them yet. This is a Falkland, which of course I haven't spun before. I'm looking forward to spinning in the Quarth colourway. Quarth, which again is from the last one in the Game of Thrones. And the inspiration picture actually has a a detail of a silk dress, and I can't even remember who's wearing it, with some beautiful embroidery on it. This has picked it up beautifully. It's got mauves and blues and the greens, and again, really can't wait to spin this, and I suspect it might be one of the next things on the wheel. However, I do need to get my Camp Loopy done again. I want to get my Camp, it's not that I need to, I actually want to. I want to get that done. I want to knit the shawl with Mel. I have some Yarn vs Zombies balled up for that already. So, yeah, I'm going to a movie morning on Sunday. We're looking at the movie It's a Girl, which I believe is about the way young women are treated in, I think it's India. So I actually thought it's at a friend's house. She's got the license to show the movie. And I actually thought I might take my wheel along and do some spinning there, because what I'm knitting at the moment needs patterns and I can't really watch a knit. And I could knit on my sock, I suppose, but I'm thinking I might actually spin. So that, I think, is it from the knitting. This week I will be doing a lot of stuff getting ready for the shop and getting ready, for, of course, for the first update, which again is on Friday the 16th of August. And yeah, I'm just super duper excited about that. What I have to talk about next is shop stuff. So I understand if you're not interested in that, and I really do understand, and don't want to hang around. But if you do, stay tuned. If you don't, I'll see you next week. Now, today I thought I would talk to you about the 3 bases that we'll be launching next week. I didn't bring any up to show you. I will show colourways next week. I have been putting photos up on Instagram, where of course I'm Fifikins, and in the Solar Flare Fibres group on Facebook. When I get the blog webpage up and running, I will also put them up there. But the 3 bases I'm launching with are all fingering weight bases. I talked with a few people and they suggested to start off small, and that's what I'm doing. 3 bases, perhaps not that small, but I wanted a variety of different textures, not necessarily different thicknesses within fingering, but different feels of yarn. So the first one is probably going to be the standard base, the go-to base for most people. It is a high twist blue face Leicester nylon blend, 80% high twist BFL, 20% nylon. It is a really, really lovely base. It's going to be perfect for socks. You can imagine they're probably going to wear forever because of the BFL content and the nylon content and the high twist. I have swatched a little bit with it, and the stitch definition is amazing, so I can't wait to use it to knit up some socks. It would look beautiful in a shawl. The luster that you get from the BFL is just lovely. So that is a 100 gram skeins. It is 400 yards per skein. And that is going to be called the Apollo base. All my bases are going to be named after solar deities or solar gods. So Apollo, I'll let you do some research on Apollo. That can be some homework if you wanted homework, not really. But I will be putting this up on the blog, of course. The second base is an MCN base. It is 80% merino, 10% cashmere, 10% nylon, 435 yards, and this is going to be called the Anya base. Anya, which is A-I-N-E, is a Celtic sun god. And I wanted something a bit more feminine for this yarn because it is so soft and so luxurious. And even from getting it in its bulk form to soaking it before I dye it to dyeing it and then drying it, it just fluffs up something special. It really is very, very special. So looking forward to being able to share that with you as well. The third base is one of my favourite bases that I've worked with. Other people have dyed it and I've worked with it. It's a 3-ply merino, but it's 490 yards worth. So it is you get a lot of bang for your buck, I suppose, with it. It's enough to do a lot of bigger shawls. It's enough to do, I didn't have to use that base. I used something similar though for my hitchhiker. Other people have used that base from other dyers with their hitchhikers. It probably wouldn't, it's a 3-ply merino, it's not super twisted, it's really quite soft, so it probably wouldn't be the best yarn for socks, but it's great for shawls or for baby blankets and things like that. So those are the 3 bases that we'll be launching next week. In September I will be launching a lace weight and toying with the idea of doing some gradient dyeing with the lace weight. I'm concerned though that if I get into gradient dyeing, I'm almost at self-striping and I might sort of be lured into that. And I don't know if I've got the time at the moment to do that. But again, we'll wait and see. We've been so blessed with the weather this last week here that I have been able to get so much dyed so that I will have a decent update next week. I'm sorry, that was Ninja again. Ninja is downstairs. Excuse me. Ninja! There's obviously someone walking past. I hope to have a fair bit up next week, but also then have some that I can put up the following week. Although the weather seems to be nice now, the forecast, I've looked at it for a couple of weeks. I think it was Saturday I got up early to do some dyeing and it was nice and sunny. By the time I got into the laundry, which is now my studio, and dyed stuff up, took it outside, it had become overcast. That aside though, there must have been still some solar rays. I have a car visor thing that goes across the windscreen. I have one of those. I put that behind the jars and must have got a fair bit of sunlight because a lot of the dye had exhausted by the evening. The following day when it was sunny though, I still put it out again just to make sure it was fully set. I suppose I'm pretty anal about that because it can be tricky with solar dyeing to make sure that the dye is exhausted and has taken. I give everything a really big rinse and then use some soak and a bit warmer water. Not warm water, probably cooler than baby bath water, but still it's that little bit little bit of warmth that does allow any excess residual dye to rinse out. And I do rinse them until they're clean. However, I know that there will still be tiny bits of residual dye in there, so I do encourage people, as with any indie dyers, any yarn really that has been dyed, has been kettle dyed, to rinse it and make sure it's fully rinsed. So I've just had a Facebook message come through that it's nothing to do with knitting, but it's just one of those things that, anyway, I'm trying to ignore it because it's, yeah. Anyway, that is probably about it for this week. I will record next week on Tuesday. I'm definitely recording on Tuesday because I am going to then be able to show you the yarns that are going to be in the shop update for the first week. It's exciting. It is really exciting. I'm enjoying putting everything together. I'm loving the dyeing process. I have ideas for things and then I try and get them, try things out, and then they work, and then I fool myself. I was trying to dye something that was blues and greens, and sometimes when you mix your yellow with your blue to get your greens, when you put it on the yarn it still looks blue, and I thought, and I planned and I thought, that's okay, if it's all blue I'll just over dye with a bit of yellow and that'll turn parts of it green and that'll go around there, then I'll perhaps over dye with a bit of blue or something. And I was thinking of all these different things, or over dyeing with green, and I was thinking of all these different things I could do, put it out in the sun, came back, and it worked out exactly as I'd planned. There was a darker green bit, a lighter greenish bit, and the blues, exactly how I'd imagined it. So I think I need to have faith sometimes with myself, and yes, I am still learning how these dyes work. The theory's there. I've dyed up samples galore, but sometimes you just have to have faith that it will work. So until next week, I think that's about it. I am going to start compressing this and doing all the stuff that I do to get it out there and put it up. While I'm doing that, I'm going to do some knitting. I'm going to knit on my windswept. Because even if I get to Sunday and have picked up all the stitches, then that will be okay. Because I might still be able to do that during the movie if it's mainly stockinette with a bit of lace. But we'll see. Anyway, until then, I'm going to say cheerio, hooroo, and see you next time. Bye.